Welcome to Becoming the Ultimate Coach. I'm the Jock, this is the Doc, and today we're going to be talking about becoming brilliant at the basics. So, Dr. J, what made me think about this the other day was I was in a jiu-jitsu class, and there was a new guy there, and he was, we call it rolling, but it's basically sparring after class with someone, and his pants were falling down, like his boxers, like butt hanging out.
Not good.
And so I was like, man, if someone would have just taught him how to tie the pants, because the pants are a little bit weird. Like you have to pull on the side to cinch them down, and then tie them at the front. And it made me think of like what I teach my new trainers, what we talk to other coaches about. Like so many times we forget to go over the basics because they're basics. We're like, this is common sense. People should know this. But it's one of those things that, you know, I see commonplace in this industry. It's something that it's a repeat conversation I have to have with new trainers in. So I thought it'd be fun for us to talk about today.
Yeah, I like it.
So when I talk about basics, I want to think about like, this is what almost everyone's going to see, in the sense of a lot of times we get caught up into like, okay, here's the program design I learned, or here's some special, you know, behavior change thing I did, which is good to know. But if we haven't taken care of the basics, there could be a lot lost. So what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, and I agree. And like you pointed out, you saw it in a jiu-jitsu class. It's an important concept regardless of what field you're in or what you're working in. And a lot of times when you've been doing something for a hot minute, you forget about the basics because they're just they're automaticity, they're part of how you do things. But yet, most of us, if we go back to the basics, there's a couple of things we could tweak. So whether you're that brand new trainer or whether you've been in the field for a hot minute, thinking about and kind of reflecting on these, I always think is good. And the biggest reason is because when we have an experience, we not only have an experience with like, let's take training with how the reps felt, how the weight felt, how whatever, but we're having an overall experience. How does the facility feel? How are the people in it? What's my experience with you as my trainer? And there's a lot of parts to that the human brain can't oftentimes readily articulate, but we've all walked out of an experience going, I don't know, something about that place or something about that person just didn't sit right with me or it just didn't feel good. Or some of it's real blatant. People have perceptions on, have you prepared? Have you put time and energy into your craft? If I'm paying you, I want to know that you put that time and effort in. And they don't see you going through your professional development courses. They don't see you writing your programs. They don't see you maintaining the equipment. But when they do see you, and it looks like on all levels that you have put time and energy into being there for them, being present, being ready, that makes a huge impact on the value that people perceive and their interest in connecting with you and then coming back.
Yeah, and it's a conversation I've had with trainers in the past that have worked at my facility of like, well, what does it matter if my shirt's wrinkled or my hair is messed up if I'm bringing good quality training? And the problem is like, there's people that are seeing you that might not know that you're a great coach.
Exactly.
And so they're like, I don't want to work with him, he's not well put together. Or if it's like someone's first impression with them, that's just something when I hear afterwards of like, well, he just didn't really seem like he had his stuff together. So it's just one of those things that like putting the emphasis on these basics is the foundation for you just being a great coach and making the income that you want and the impact. So I got my little cheat sheet here. We're going to kind of run this down.
Okay.
So we're going to start from the top and work our way down. So hair. And you can jump in here anytime you want, but I don't care what kind of hairstyle really someone has. I just want people put together. In the sense of, we have a lot of people that start training at 5:30 in the morning. And so not too many of my guys are getting up real early, but they come in and it's like flat on the side, or sometimes they're taking naps through the day and they look like they just got up. Like people are paying top dollar for training. And they're like, this person looks like he just rolled out of bed. I'm not sure even that he's awake yet.
Exactly. And even like certain hairstyles, it really doesn't matter. What's important about the hairstyle though is that you can manage it. If you're constantly doing this all day, trying to get your hair out of your face, or it's distracting, or you have an ism and you're playing with it all the time, people notice that. So sometimes it's also just, does this hairstyle work for you all day long in that, or do you need to do something to better support it, product, whatever it is.
Working our way down. Now we're talking facial hair. And it's funny because there's a client that owns a company that trains at my facility, and all of his employees clean cut shaven. Like he'll bring razors to them to make sure that's that. So I'm not really that hardcore, but it's just like, again, it's just put together. If like, can we trim up a little bit? If we have the big beard, which is fine, just make sure that it look like you're just not living off the street.
Exactly.
Working our way down, just the teeth and breath. Like we keep gum stocked at our facility because no one wants to work with someone that has bad breath, that has food stuck in their teeth. And sometimes the trainers, and especially when they're eating right, like they're having like tuna, and then they're coming out with the tuna breath working with people, which kind of goes into like body odor. And like this is something I've had clients complain to me before. It's like, man, I wish you just wear a little more deodorant. And that's definitely something you don't want as a coach, of someone thinking you're the stinky guy there.
Yeah, and anyone that's gone to a hot yoga class knows that there are a group of people that seem to keep putting their clothes back in their bag. They get it out the next day. It's dry, they kind of sniff it seems fine. The minute you heat that bad boy up, it is horrendous. The same thing for some of the trainers. If you wore that shirt last night or 2 days ago and you found it on the floor, you stick it back in on you, you smell it, it's fine. When you're starting to work with clients and you're getting a little warm, it's going to smell. And so sometimes it's just also just certain rules of thumb, even if you're not sure how that happened or why that happened, trust me, it'll happen.
And I get it. Sometimes the trainers like, we got this hour gap in between, we're gonna get a quick workout in, and like didn't have time to shower, but the thing is, like, if clients notice you smelling, that's not gonna be good long-term for you, no matter how great your coaching is. So breaking down to like the clothes now, like the shirts. And I see several issues with this. Sometimes guys that really like to show off the muscles, too tight. We don't want to do that. Sometimes I go to other facilities and I'm amazed because there's guys out there with like sleeveless shirts on, which I don't think is a good look. It might attract a few people, but it's definitely going to scare off a lot others. And then really the biggest thing I'd see with like locally is more of just the wrinkles. Like I have a steamer at my house. I try to hang things up in time out of the dryer, but they don't. Like they have to have a steamer on it. You need to have the wrinkles out of the shirts.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point too about skin exposure, for lack of better terms. If you are in great shape, the thought might be like, well, I'm a trainer, I'm in great shape. I'm showing my clients that I walk the walk and talk the talk, so on and so forth. And that's fine, but a well-fitted shirt can also show that you're in shape without making it feel either intimidating or that's the expectation of how everybody dresses. And some people are just going to prefer to wear a baggier t-shirt to work out. They're paying for the time, that's their thing. But they want to feel like and I always stress this, right? Like you want people to be at your facility to feel like this is their community, this is their people, that they belong there. And so dressing in a way that says, I took care, no wrinkles, but I'm also not trying to intimidate you. I want you to feel comfortable belonging, and I'm just here as a professional to support you on your journey, is really the message that you want to get.
So moving down to shorts, I have my team, they're either wearing black shorts or black pants. And I think there's some other colors that could be in there, but I've been at facilities where they're wearing like a red shirt and they're wearing like pink shorts, and it's just like, did they just throw this together? Are they a trainer here, or are they someone working on it? It's just kind of hard to tell. So like just having that kind of more uniform look, because again, we want to look like professionals. Last thing on this list is shoes. Like one of my past trainers would come in after a run and the shoes would be dirty and muddy, and not only tracking up the gym, but again, you just don't look like a professional here. And so many of these things that we're talking about can break down to like, if you're not hitting those spots, like people might not want to work with you just because of that. And I hate for coaches to lose business or have clients be scared away just because they didn't do their hair, or they didn't get the wrinkles out of their shirt, or they didn't change their shoes, or just these very simple basic things.
Yeah, and with that too is, let's say you've created that great first impression, you were all put together, and now you've been training someone for several years, and you're like, oh, they don't care, they don't mind. And so you let certain things go at certain times with certain clients. Yep. There are a few that won't give a whatever, and it doesn't. But what it sometimes is doing is people are very sensitive to, are you taking me for granted? Am I no longer a priority? And so if you're put together as this first impression for new clients, but then you're just kind of used to me and you're not putting in that effort, people also fade away, and they will at least notice that. And so also just don't have that like assumption that I just need to make a good first impression, and then after that we're friends, well, it doesn't matter, and I'm squeezing you in. So
yeah, and so as we wrap up session 1 with appearance on becoming brilliant at the basics, just think about that with your everyday, of kind of your checklist of like, what do I need to go through to make sure that I am showing up and I am going to be perceived as the most professional coach there is. Until next time.